Mark Raimondi from MMA Fighting is reporting that Nick Diaz has been suspended. He's facing UFC anti-doping policy violations for a whereabouts failure. Basically, he didn't tell them where he was going to be, and that's not good when you're a USADA governed athlete. And I use the term governed very loosely because just listen to this statement for a second. UFC fighters have a USADA app on their phone, and they must fill out where they are going to be every day for the next 3 months so doping control officers can come take their samples for random drug tests. I get it. You want to be able to random drug test people, but those of you listening, if you had to, in your phone, write down every place you were going to be for the next 3 months, so a bunch of, aliens, what it feels like, that just swoop in and take fluid samples out of your body and they fly away. I picture like E.T. and the hazmat suits all around the house. That's what I picture. Of course, it's not. It's just regular working Joes and Janes like everybody else doing their job, getting a cup of tea. But still, you can see the perspective that, fuck, that sucks and that's annoying. Nick Diaz hasn't fought since January of 2015 when he fought Anderson Silva. Nick Diaz initially received a 5-year suspension because he tested positive for pot in that fight. That was later reduced down to an 18-month suspension for marijuana, of which he is a medical marijuana patient. Anderson Silva tested positive for steroids in that very same fight and only received a 1-year suspension. Now, that was Diaz's second pot failure, so you get it. Well, he did it once, then he did it the second time. 5 years was the initial rollout to Nick for the second offense, and then it was reduced to 18 months, which is still 6 months longer than Anderson Silva's steroid conviction or lack. I don't know if conviction is the right term. It's not a law here, but still, violation, I should say. Insanity. I still don't understand. I'm not saying that, Nick didn't have to pay the price for knowingly failing a test. He signed in the bout agreement. He knows what the rules are, and then failing at that time. Whether we agree with it, I don't think anybody agrees with it from a health or moral, ethical perspective. But it's in the rule books. They have to follow it, and then, oops, you get a boo-boo. Slap on the wrist. But it should never, ever, ever be longer than someone who tests positive for steroids. Anyway. And this is the Fox News back at that time. This is what, January of 16, they were talking about his 1 year of testing positive for banned substances. So it happened, same fight that Nick tested positive. So what happens now? Now, Diaz can contest any of the 3 whereabouts failures or each of them with an independent administrative review panel made up by people chosen by USADA within 14 days of this 3rd whereabouts failure being issued. He also has the right to a hearing. Ugh. Oh, who wants to do that? I definitely don't think Nick Diaz wants to do that and deal with that. That sucks. So it's a shitty situation. He's basically in trouble, not for being on drugs, for probably not putting up with the pain in the ass. Whereabouts bullshit. I'm assuming. He hasn't fought in over 2 years, 2.5 years. Maybe not. He's not even going to fight again. He might not. But now he's got to deal with this bullshit. And, I think Jeff Nowitzki had said at one point there's the smell test or the look test. I wouldn't put Nick Diaz on the any test or scale of person that might be using PEDs. And even still, there's no fight even close to being announced. So I find it interesting. I'm wondering how it goes. And I wonder if he has to go out of pocket. I believe he does. For an administrative review panel, for a hearing, I believe he has to go out of pocket, if nothing else, for his own attorneys. But also, I think there's certain fees associated with those proceedings. Interesting stuff. What do you guys think? Leave comments below. Subscribe to the channel. And tell me, what else do you want to hear? Do you want to hear more about the fat loss, the weight loss, the building muscle, the motivation, the inspiration? Do you like some of these behind-the-scenes analysis of news which we're trying to talk about a little bit more because I talk to a lot of you guys about this stuff anyway. So whatever you want to hear about, leave it below and we will keep the conversation going. Boom.